ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين، مبير الظالمين، مدرك الهاربين. والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأرضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، قال المعصوم عليه السلام: من كان بازلا محجته وموطنا على لقاء الله فليرحل معنا إني راحل مصبحا إن شاء الله. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Marwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. It's an honor to be given this opportunity to come and recite in front of you, brothers and sisters, in these most auspicious nights, the nights of reform, the nights of love, the nights of tears, and to those that do not understand, the nights of madness. For only the lover understands what love truly is. To the outside world, even the lover's love is madness. And it is only the lucky few that are able to understand this love. It is only the lucky few that are given this love that each and every one of you possesses within your hearts. That love that has dragged you outside of your homes and has brought you to this majlis. That love that brings even those that do not come to the masjid throughout the year, but yet the personality of Hussein ibn Ali is such that he drags out that individual that has no such connection with the Husayniyah or the masjid, but yet when it comes to cry for Abi Abdullah, he leaves his home and he makes his way and gathers with other mu'mineen to shed tears for Abu Abdullah, paying condolences not only to that mother that weeps for Hussein until now, but also to the Imam of our time, who weeps for over 1400 years. وَلَا أَبْكِيَنَّ لَكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ الدَّمْعَةِ. But, and when my tears run out for you, O my grandfather, I cry tears of blood. Every night we go home and we act as if nothing has happened. We cry for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a night, and we go back. But yet spare a thought for the Imam of your time, who has been weeping for over 1,000 years, with no one by his side. These months, the moment this moon is seen, there was a change in the state of every Imam. The 8th Imam says in regards to the 7th Imam that when my father would see the moon of Muharram, I would never see him smile. And as the days would begin to progress, he would begin to get more and more sorrowful. His sorrow would begin to overcome him day by day until the 10th day, when now his sorrow was unbearable, and he would say that this is the 10th of Muharram, the day that Hussein ibn Ali was killed. And there is a number of political reasons, there are a number of societal reasons that the Imam is saying that this is the day of Ashura. For all of us, that it is known for us that yes, this is the day of Ashura, but there are times that have passed in history where individuals did not even know that it was Muharram. They did not even know that it was the day of Ashura. It was only when they met with the Ma'soom of their time that the Ma'soom informed them. So count yourself lucky that you know when Muharram is. You anticipate that Muharram and you work your way towards that 10th day where your grief will overcome you. And it's odd, this love for Abu Abdullah. How is it that when we look at Karbala as an event, it is very small, restricted to a small desert within Iraq, restricted to a matter of hours, from the time of Fajr until the time of Asr. A handful of individuals, 72 individuals. But yet, even though it's small, even though on the Zahir it seems like a matter of hours, but yet until now, mu'mineen around the world gather in the most obscure places so that they can sit and mourn Abu Abdullah. Why is it not even just Abu Abdullah, but in people like Muslim ibn Awsaja? People sit there and they cry for him. Abis ibn Shabib al-Shakiri, people sit and they cry for him. What was it that these individuals possessed that 1400 years later, just because they died at the side of their Imam, they are still being remembered until now by me and you? What is it that they possessed? What differentiated them from the 120,000 that stood across from them? Karbala, it is no less than Sha'air Allah. You look at the event of Hajj, you find that Hajara is running between Safa and Marwa for her son. The Quran turns around and says this running from now, from this point on, inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'airillah, that Safa and Marwa are now the signs of Allah. But yet Hussein too had a Safa and Marwa. His Safa was the battlefield, his Marwa was the camps. He would go out and bring back the body of one companion and bring him back. If she ran 7 times, he ran at over 100 times between his Safa and his Marwa. If Ibrahim was outside and Shaitan was coming and trying to tempt him, and Ibrahim was warding away the Shaitan of his time by throwing stones at him, then Hussein ibn Ali was faced with 120 shayateen, 120,000 shayateen, each and every one of them trying to attack them, and he was attacking them back with his sword. He was attacking them back with that ferocity. If Ibrahim, his movement became Sha'air Allah, that every year people go to Hajj and they redo the acts of Ibrahim. If Ibrahim at the peak of his test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blindfolds himself and places his son Ismail on the ground and goes to place the sword upon the neck of Ismail, Ismail. And that act of Ibrahim makes him an Imam. Because the Holy Quran says that when Ibrahim, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. That when Ibrahim had passed all of his tests, when he had completed all of his tests, his Lord said to him, now I have made you an Imam upon the people. If that act of Ibrahim, though he did not even sacrifice his son, made him an Imam, and his act became Sha'air Allah, then tell me Hussein too had many Ismails in Karbala. But there was no blindfold on the eyes of Hussein. He had an Ismail in the form of Ali Akbar. He had an Ismail in the form of Qasim. He had an Ismail in the form of Aun and Muhammad and Abbas. He gave them all in the way of Allah. Not only that, in the end he was ready to give himself in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when he rides out, Ilahi taraktul khalqa turran fi hawak wa aitamtul ayala likay arak wa in katta'tani bil hubbi iraban iraba limal al fuadu ila siwak. My Lord, I have left the whole of creation for your sake. I have orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces, my heart would turn to none but you. This is Karbala. If Hajj can be Sha'air of Allah, then Karbala certainly is one of the signs of Allah. 2.5 million individuals go in a place that is more advanced, in a place on the face of it that has all the facilities, but yet you see all the problems. But here 25 million people descend upon a desert town which does not have the infrastructure to support its own people throughout the year, let alone 25 million individuals. But yet 25 million individuals descend upon this small place. They eat, they sleep, they have all of the necessities of life, and nowhere do you hear of a stampede. Nowhere do you hear of someone not having anywhere to sleep. You find every individual watered, every individual fed, every individual is taken care of. Tell me, is this not a living miracle? This is that journey that we remember. But it is not just a journey of tears that we have made it. It is not just that journey of azar that we have made it. It is an integral part. There is no one that can deny the integral nature of the azar of Imam al-Hussein. It is what has kept Tashayyu alive without a doubt. It is what has kept the head of the Shi'as raised. But there was a greater purpose in Karbala. That purpose was what Imam al-Hussein highlights as he is leaving Mecca. And this is what we will discuss over the coming nights. Liqa Allah, meeting with Allah. You know, hundreds surrounded him in Mecca. As he left Medina, he came to Mecca, came on the Hajj. You hear about it everywhere. The narrations say hundreds surrounded him. And hundreds were ready to join him. Until he said a couple of lines that sieved the people. Those lines were, "Man kana bazilan muhjata وَمُوَطِّنًا عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ." Those of you that have made the intention to spend your blood in our way, وَمُوَطِّنًا عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ, and have made firm intentions to meet with Allah, فَلْيَرْحَلْ مَعْنَا إِنِّي رَاحِلٌ مُصْبِحًا إِنْشَاءَ اللَّهِ. Then come with me, for I am leaving in the morning. When he reminded them that this is a one-way journey. When he reminded them that this is a one-way journey, those hundreds that surrounded him all dissipated. A handful followed him. Karbala in reality is that journey to meet with Allah. It is the journey where an individual meets his Lord. The whole stance of Karbala is about meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole purpose of Ahlul Bayt was that they make the people realize and understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. The people became distracted. They began looking at the individuals, not at who they were calling towards. Not at who they were trying to take us towards. So instead, Allah was no longer Raziq. You hear people saying Ali Raziq, na'udhu billah. Allah's rububiyyah was forgotten and people started saying Ali Rabb, na'udhu billah. This is what happens when an individual focuses not on the goal that Ahlul Bayt were telling us to focus on. They are all arcs of salvation, but only if you embark upon the ark. If only you embark upon the ark. Because without embarking upon it, you don't reach its destination. If someone stands outside a ship and sings the praises of the ship, behind him is impending doom. There's a wave coming his way. And he's singing the praises of the ship. Look how beautiful the ship is. Look at the craftsmanship of the ship. Look how beautifully it sails. Look at its rudder. Look at its sails. Look at how many people it can save. Look how fast it can save everyone. And behind him there's a tidal wave. What would you call that individual? We'd call him a moron. Say, well, you're not embarking upon the ship. You know that there is no safety for you unless you get on the ship, but you're standing outside going, look how beautiful it is. It's exactly what we do with Ahlul Bayt. We stand outside and we say, look how beautiful our Imam is. Look at what he said in Khandaq. Look at what he said in Khaybar. Look at what he did on the night of Hijrah. Look at what he did when he stood by the side of the Prophet. Look at him in Medina. Look at him in Mecca. Read what he says in Shiqshaqiyya. Look at what he says about Khutbatul Muttaqeen. Can you believe that Hammam died when he heard it? Look at all of this that he says, but yet no one's ready to follow what he says. The whole event of Ghadir happened, the longest sermon of the life of the Holy Prophet. And mashallah, the Shias of Ahlul Bayt know one line. 3 hours, longest lecture, sermon of his life. And when you ask anyone, what did the Prophet say in Ghadir? مَنْ كُنْتُ مَوْلَى فَهَذَا عَلِيٌّ. But yet everything else has been forgotten. We cry every year that Abu Abdullah, he said to the people, he said to the army of Yazid, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, he gave lecture after lecture, but nobody knows what sermon he gave. We just know he came Karbala, he didn't have any water, and then they killed him on the 10th day. Forgive my briefness in that matter, or if it comes across a bit abrupt. But that is the reality that we live. That every year Muharram comes and Muharram goes, and there is no difference within me. The first of Muharram comes and I anticipate it, I prepare for it, I enter into Muharram. But yet the 10th comes, the 20th comes, the 30th comes, the 40th comes, and I have stopped maybe listening to music for Abu Abdullah, not realizing that it is haram. I've started growing a beard, I've stopped shaving for Abu Abdullah, not realizing it's haram to pass a blade over my face. I've started to, change my life for the sake of Abu Abdullah, not realizing what I was doing anyway was haram. And then the 40th day passes. And then comes out the music, comes out the razor, and everything carries on. Back to how it was. And then in between we get Shahr Ramadan to wake us slightly. And then again, back into that slumber until Muharram comes. And the cycle starts again. Ahlul Bayt did not come in order that they would be stories for us. They came with a higher purpose. They came with a greater cause. That cause was to take man towards his perfection. To take man towards that place that he was supposed to have reached. To his true potential. His true potential where he can go, where now even Sayyidul Malaika is saying, if I go any further, I will be obliterated. Only man can transcend. Only man can go beyond that threshold. That man who started his life with the Malaika doing sajda to him. Now he is below the animals. He leaves this world below the animals. That child that enters the world, we say that, look how weird it is. Our children, they smile, they laugh. The narration says the malaika, they come, they play with your children. This is why you see the babies laugh and smile. That child that was there at its early stages, that the malaika were coming to entertain it, now as he leaves this world, as an adult, now he sees nothing. He sees no reality. He has no yaqeen in God. In fact, he leaves this world worse than an animal. There is no other creature in existence that can ascend and descend as much as humans. It is only mankind that can ascend to the heights of their existence, beyond everything else. But at the same time, they can fall lower than all. But Karbala is that place which allows us to be able to rise above everything. It allows us to clean our plates, clean our hearts, so that we're able to ascend once more. And over the coming nights, we will look at this concept of liqa Allah. We will look at the concepts of hunger and the lack of sleep. We will look at parents being the gateway towards Jannah. All of these various aspects that take a person towards Allah. The whole purpose of Karbala. The whole purpose of Karbala is that an individual attain proximity to his Lord. That's what it teaches us, not what we have made it. Karbala allows an individual to clean his slate, clean his heart from that rust that has gathered on it. And so as a result, he is able now to realize the realities of the world. And this is what the narrations say, that even one tear for Aba Abdullah يحط الذنوب العظام, it consumes all of your sins the same way that fire consumes dry wood. Karbala is no normal event. This is that event that is spoken about by Anbiya before even Imam al-Hussein is born. That they come and they stop upon the land of Karbala. And they say, here will be buried the brightest of moons. Amirul Mu'mineen coming back from Siffin stops in Karbala. They say he descends upon the earth. He picks up the earth of Karbala. He says, Wahan laki ayyatuha turba. How lucky are you, O earth, that the greatest of men will spill their blood upon you. Then the narrator says, Salla rak'atain. He prays 2 rakat salah there. He walks around the earth. That earth, that even before his death was made holy because he was to die there. Karbala is no ordinary event. The earth of Karbala is no ordinary earth. There is a story that one of the kings of Iran, that an individual came to him, a magician, and he said, I could tell whatever someone has within their hands. This is the power that has been bestowed upon me by whatever religion I follow. And so people were coming and they were holding things in their hands. And everyone, was holding things and he was guessing everything. And felt towards his faith. And so they turned to him. He holds something in his hand. He takes out his tasbih that has been created by the earth of Karbala. All those tasbih that we all have in our homes. He holds it in his hand. His Khakashima tasbih. He says to the man, tell me what's in my hand. The individual goes quiet. And they say to him, do you not know what's in there? The answer is not. If you can see what is in my hand. He says, I can see what is in your hand. What I'm thinking is, where did you get it from? They say to him, what does he have in his hand? He says he possesses a piece of heaven within his hand. What I am wondering all of this time is, where did he get it from? This is that land. Why is it that it became so great? Because of the sacrifices that were given there. Why is it that 1400 years later, individuals remember that stance of 72 men? Why is it that we even remember the smallest of children, the youngest of youth, the eldest of men? Those that were slaves, those that were free, those that had just reverted. Because as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Maryam, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَيَجْعَلُوا لَهُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ وَدًّا. That those that do good and have faith and do good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places their love in the hearts of the people. They did everything for the sake of Allah. Their very purpose was liqa Allah. And so as a result, their names lived on. Their aim was never legacy. They didn't know that they would ever be. No one came to Habib and said, Habib, come to Karbala. You'll be killed there, but you'll be guaranteed paradise and people will remember you 1,000 years later. There was no legacy on offer. There was no kingship on offer. There was but the word of the Imam that this way is salvation. And there are individuals that were given this opportunity to be saved. They chose to turn it away. Ubaydullah al-Ja'fi, Imam comes to him. He says, I know you fought against my father in Siffin. I know that you were not on the side of my brother Hassan, but I am giving you hijab. This itself is a beautiful point. This itself shows the rahmah and the mercy of the Imam. And in the latter nights we will speak about it. That the Imam knows this individual is an enemy, but he sees some way, somehow he wants to try and save him. Because an Imam is still the Imam of individuals. And yet, we Shias, we hold grudges. Doesn't tally up. How does it tally up? That the Shia of Al Muhammad, the follower of such an Imam, that is going to his enemies and saying, look, let me save you. Or the followers of that Imam, that is saying to Ibn Muljim, that was I not a good Amir to you? Was I not a good Imam to you? Why is it that you did this? Give him the milk that you brought. He looks at us. And then yet the Shias of Al Muhammad have that sort of personality that they fall out with people and they won't speak to them for years. Does not tally up. This is not the deen that Ahlul Bayt came with. This is not that religion that they gave all those sacrifices for. So he goes to Ubaydullah al-Rajul. He says, come. Ubaydullah says, Imam, I have a sword, I have a spear. Sorry. He says, Imam, I have a sword, I have a spear, and I have the fastest of horses. Take that. Imam says, we don't want your sword, we don't want your spear, we don't want your horse, we want you. He says, I can't come, I've got family, Imam says, we will give protection. He says, I still can't come. And we will look at it in the later nights. What is it that's made him stay? And then after the event of Karbala, he is seen walking amongst the bodies, crying, saying, until you are alive, O Ubaydullah al-Rajul, cry that you did not come to the aid of Abu Abdullah when he asked you. Karbala is that place that was there to take an individual towards perfection, towards meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because those individuals gave everything for the sake of Allah. They are remembered today. No one remembers anyone from the army of Yazid only because of their relationship with someone from the army of Imam al-Hussein. Either they were the killer of that individual, or they said something to hurt Ahlul Bayt. So we remember them only because of them, only to curse them. But everyone else, those 120,000 individuals that came, seeking that wealth, seeking that power, not a single one of them is remembered. Not a single one of them, none of their children exist. But yet, the names of every single one of those individuals is remembered. We name our children after them. We don't look at their color, we don't look at their caste, we don't look at what their names were or where they were, even if they had been someone that had fought against Amirul Mu'mineen, but now joined Abu Abdullah, we still send salam upon them. People like Dhuhair, they were not supporters of Ahlul Bayt. It is only when Imam approached him, like he approached Ubaydullah al-Rajul, that he then came and joined the Imam. But yet we salute them. We name our children after them. Only because they did everything for the sake of Allah. Because they wanted to meet with Allah. In that attempt to reach perfection. These next 9 or 10 nights is our opportunity to reach that perfection, or to take a step towards it, not for our sakes, then at least for the sake of the Imam of our time, that does wait for his Shi'as. We're not awaiting him. The biggest misconception that has been put in the minds of the Shi'as is that you are awaiting an Imam. You are not awaiting an Imam. An Imam is awaiting you. There is a difference. An Imam is awaiting his Shi'as to be ready. An Imam is awaiting for his Ali Akbar to be ready, for his Qasim to be ready, for his Abbas to be ready, for his Habib, for his Zuhair, for his Muslim to be ready, so that he can come and take revenge for what happened in Karbala. But our actions on a daily basis delay his reappearance. Our actions on a daily basis, our lack of faith, our lack of certainty in his existence. Because if we break it down and we think to ourselves and we look at our actions and we look at how we interact with others and what we do in our daily lives, we realize that actually we don't really think he's there. We don't really have certainty that he will come. We say it with our lips, إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَ بَعِيدًا وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. For them it's distance, for us it's near, but yet I live my life like he's not going to come in my lifetime. And he will not. If we do not reform ourselves and make ourselves the Muslims and the Habibs and the Zuhairs and the Abis ibn Shabibs of our time. Karbala is about reformation. The aim of every Imam and Abu Abdullah was simply the ma'rifah, simply the knowing, the understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See in Karbala, he's constantly reminding them. Each individual gave so much in this way, but Abu Abdullah gave the most. The longest, he gave a long line of sacrifices, culminating in his life. But the first of those sacrifices was to leave his beloved Medina. When he makes the intention to leave Medina, he goes to the grave of Rasulullah. He begins crying at the grave of Rasulullah. He falls asleep, sees the Holy Prophet in his dream. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Jadda, ضمني في هذا القبر. Take me into this grave with you, for I have no desire to return to the world. And the Holy Prophet turns to him, he says, Waladi ya Hussein, نحن إليك المشتاقون. That we are awaiting you, we desire to see you. أنا وأبوك وأمك وأخوك. Me, your father, your mother, your brother, we all await you, Hussein. But oh Hussein, no. Inna darajatun fil Jannah. There is a station in Jannah for you, but you cannot attain it unless you attain the status of shahadat. Abi Abdullah awakens from this dream. The narrations say then he goes towards another grave. A grave that is lonely, a grave that has no one by it, a grave that no one knows but Hussein where it is. He goes and he sits at the grave of his mother. The narrations do not say what Abu Abdullah said, but my heart tells me that at that grave he would have remembered what had happened all those years ago in Medina. That time that Rasulullah had passed away and the Muslims came to the door of Zahra. They did not come with condolences. Instead they came bearing fire and wood to burn down the house of Fatima. She stood behind the door pleading with them. Abi Abdullah was watching this. He stood there watching his mother, Imam al-Hassan, many times after the event. As he would see Mughira, he would look towards him and say, he is the one that slapped my mother and caused her death. Abu Abdullah, Imam al-Hassan are watching. Fatima to Zahra is standing behind the door. She is pleading with them. This is the door that the wahi would come down upon. This is the door that Rasulullah would ask for permission. Will you burn down this door? One mal'oon kicks the door. Fatima is crushed between the wall and the door. They say the nail of the door broke the rib of Fatima to Zahra. She falls upon the ground. They enter into the house. They tie ropes around the neck of Ali. They drag him to the masjid. And here again you find the defender of Wilayat, Fatima. As she comes around, she says, where is Ali? Where have they taken Ali? They say they've taken him to the masjid. One alim would recite, one hand on her rib, one hand on the walls of Medina. She made her way to the mosque of the Prophet, and there she stood pleading with them. Let my husband go. Let Ali go. No one would listen. She says, if you do not let him go, I will open my hand and pray to Allah to curse you. Amir al-Mu'mineen turns to Salman. He says, Salman, ask Fatima to return home. Ask Fatima to return home. Salman comes to Sayyida. He says, Sayyida, Ali has requested that you go home. She says, Salman, Ali, they are holding Ali and you want me to return. But she returned. Those days that passed, every day at the grave of the Prophet, Ya Ahmed, صبت علي مصائب لو أنها صبت على الأيام سرنا لياليها. That, oh Ahmed, those sorrows that have befallen me, had they fallen on the brightest of days, surely they would have become the darkest of nights. This lady cries, but this is not enough for the people of Medina. The oppression that they put upon her, it was not enough. Now they come to Ali, they say, tell Fatima, either cry during the day or cry at night. We can't bear to hear her cry all the time. Amir al-Mu'mineen comes to her, he says, Fatima, the people of Medina, they have come and this is what they have said. She says, Ya Ali, build me somewhere that I can go and cry. Can you imagine the daughter of Rasulullah not being allowed to mourn? She goes out into that place that Amirul Mu'mineen makes for her. And every day she cries there for her father. She cries for what this ummah has done to her and to Amirul Mu'mineen. Then one day she comes home. She calls her servant. She says that my time is near. The narration says she waited until Amirul Mu'mineen had gone to the masjid. And she sent Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein away as well. And she laid on her bed and she said that until you hear my tasbih, know that I am alive. But the moment that you do not hear my tasbih, know that Fatima is no more. She says, I listened out for the tasbih of Fatima. But at one point, the voice stopped. And I went in order to awaken her, but saw that the soul had departed from her body. At this very moment, Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein entered back into that house. They entered back into the house. Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein run into the room towards their mother. They see that Hazrat Zahra has left this world. Imam al-Hassan falls upon his mother. He begins weeping. They say Imam al-Hussein sat at the feet of Fatima. He began kissing the feet of his mother. Ya Umma ana Husaynun kallimini qabla an yufariq ruhi min jasadi. My mother, speak to me, I am your Hussein. Speak to me before my soul departs my body. They go to call Amir al-Mu'mineen. As they tell Amir al-Mu'mineen, that Ali that did sabr upon everything, but yet the moments that he hears that Fatima has left this world, they say that Ali fell upon the ground and fainted. They brought Amir al-Mu'mineen home. Amir al-Mu'mineen begins to prepare the ghusl and the kafan of Sayyidah. He tells everyone that do not cry loudly in case the enemies understand that we are about to bury her. The narration states that the sons and daughters of Fatima had placed their hands in their mouths in order to stifle the sounds of their cries. And they were biting upon their fingers. The ashab, the closest ashab were to there. They say that Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the room giving ghusl. When a moment later he comes out of the room crying loudly, crying, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. They go to him, they say, Ya Ali, you are the one that requested us not to cry loudly. Ya Ali, what is this state that we find you in? He says, you have not done Ali justice. Today Ali has understood those injuries that Fatima hid from him. Today Ali has seen where that whip landed upon the wrist of Fatima. Today Ali has seen the broken rib of Fatima. Today Ali understands why every time she would stand, she would use Zainab as support. فلا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلب